Hello, everybody. Today we'll be talking about Into the Breach. Initial release date February 27th, 2018. Developed and published by Subset Games. Costs $15 or your regional equivalent. And the platforms for it are Nintendo Switch, Macintosh operating systems, Linux, and Microsoft Windows. The description is control powerful mechs from the future to defeat an alien threat. Each attempt to save the world presents a new, randomly generated challenge in this turn-based strategy game. And yeah, we can go around and introduce ourselves and kind of say how much experience we've had with the game and our initial impressions. Who wants to start it?
I'll go. Nick, I bought the game for the Switch, and I think it's an absolutely perfect title for the Switch. It's absolutely mobile friendly. And I played I'd say to myself, a good amount. Like, I understand all the mechanics and everything. I've not beat the game yet, but I did get really close. And my impressions of the game is I like it a lot, which is surprising because I generally don't like turn-based games. I'm really picky about them, but this one I end up liking a lot.
I'm Noah. I don't own the game. I've just played it at Mitch's house when I've been there. Overall, I very much enjoy playing the game. It's good, fun strategy that's nice to play, and you can do in relatively short amount of time.
Did you like it?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely would recommend it.
My name is Mitch. I've played, my Switch says 60 hours, but that also includes time that Noah played. I really enjoyed this game a lot. I have unlocked all of the squads now. As of today, I've unlocked the last one. Well, apparently there's actually a 9th squad, but I'm not getting that ever.
Yeah, we were talking about that a bit before you got here.
But overall, I really liked the game. I really like the strategy. I also have it on Switch. It's a really great Switch game, and I'm looking forward to discussing this.
Yeah. Last and certainly least is me, Zach. I'm not sure how long I've played it because I'm not sure how to check how long you've played stuff on Switch, but I've played it a decent amount. I've unlocked all the squads except for like the last 2. I've unlocked all the islands and beaten the game a couple of times, and I really like this game. I think it's a very accessible, but at the same time very challenging turn-based strategy game. I think it's challenging, but fair. It's not. It doesn't leave like anything to chance, really. Like some of the aspects of like XCOM is there's a lot of random chance. There's like 0 random chance in this game, and I really like that because it really like challenges you to make like the best of a really bad situation.
Yeah, the only random chance comes into the randomness of the AI movement.
Yeah, especially on the very first turn.
That can really fuck you sometimes, but otherwise it's very fair.
Yeah, definitely like where you choose to put your mechs at the start, and
it almost doesn't matter.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves. So a really brief rundown of this game is it is a turn-based strategy game where you play as teams of mechs. We can kind of go into the story, but basically you have to fight
the Vek.
The Vek. Was it the Vek or was the...
Yep, Vek.
Vek, okay.
V-E-K.
Which are basically a bunch of bugs that are attacking the Earth, and the game is essentially you have to go zone by zone across these islands, and each area will have some kind of objective that you have to complete, and the Vek are there to fuck your day up.
That's for sure.
Yeah, the game is relatively simple. You just move around and shoot, but there's like it's a game that feels relatively simple, but it has like a lot of complexity to it, depending on like the team you pick and the environment that you're fighting in and stuff like that. I feel like I'm rambling on. So
it's also roguelike in that you go until you lose, in that you have a power grid at the top, and the power grid represents the ability to like keep your mechs up and running, and whenever you lose buildings, your power grid decreases, and you can have at most 7 power grid, and as soon as your power grid goes to 0, you lose the game entirely and start over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's first talk about that mechanic and all that, because I think that is one of the more fascinating and unique things about this game is the health system and how you have other mechanics protecting that. So how I mean by that is you use a lot of resources to try to protect your health. Your mechs have different levels of health, and sometimes you might sacrifice putting a unit in front of the cities to soak up the damage instead of taking a hit to your life.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I
you
definitely-
sacrifice the life of your units, but they're still functional if they survive.
Yeah, that's definitely what I meant when I said it's a lot of like balancing what you can afford to lose in a bad situation, because especially on normal difficulty, when stuff gets a little bit more difficult, you're never going to be able to get out of a situation without like taking a bit of damage. So it's kind of like, can you afford to lose a battery? Can you afford to have this unit take a hit? And a lot of stuff like that, especially when you have units like, I forget which team this guy is on, but it's like a truck that rams into enemy units and deals damage and knocks them back, but it also receives damage. So it's a lot of like trade-offs, and I like that in my strategy games. Like, it feels like I have a lot of options, and you have to like balance what is going to benefit you the most versus which is going to be the least amount of detriment to your game.
And it can be some really hard trade-offs sometimes.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
this game is not nice to you.
Yeah. You can often have a situation where you have no chance of winning.
Yeah. There's also quite often that you totally fuck yourself. You like move your piece like one spot and then suddenly realize that you've just totally fucked up your whole plan on
Or you
accident.
accidentally like shoot one of your buildings.
Oh my god. It's so easy to blow up your own stuff.
Yep.
The amount of times I told myself, like, God, I'm such a fucking idiot.
Yeah, exactly. It's
But-
always your fault too. It's never the game's fault. It's always your fault.
But
Mhm.
what's amazing, and on top of that, is they kind of address that issue because they know you will make mistakes. And I love
yeah.
that they give you the option to reset your turn.
Yeah, the one
do
reset
poorly.
super nice.
You get one reset per like match you do.
Per mission, yeah.
I started using the pilot that gives you 2 resets
Oh shit! There's
each
Yeah.
turn.
Yeah, there's a pilot with 2 resets.
I really like that guy actually.
See, personally, I don't use resets very often, so I don't like that pilot. Like, it's useful. I ran him once, but I never used 2 resets.
Kind of as I got like more familiar with the game, because he's like, it's actually kind of a weird situation. I think on my one of my first playthroughs, my main pilot died, and I had like a backup pilot that I found in a pod, and I think it was that guy, and so I started using him, just because I didn't have another main pilot, and I think that's why I originally started using him.
See, I didn't get him until very recently, so I've gotten really good at the game, and so when I got him, it didn't really feel like he was like, I have so many other better pilots I would choose. I would always choose other pilots for their abilities over him personally.
the times I usually use reset turn isn't because I fuck up or anything. I'd say most of the reasons are because like when I move in attack with like 1 or 2 units, all of a sudden seeing those units do those movements and actions
Like,
kind of
reveals
opens my
something else.
brain,
Yeah.
and reveals another path that's better. And I'm like, oh shit, I should
That's
do that.
usually why I use my reset too. It's like,
Yeah.
as soon as I do something, you have that realization of like, oh, I could have done this so much better.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the time in this game, especially once you get towards like the end, when you're getting closer to winning, so much of the game is just staring at the screen, looking for moves.
Yeah. It's like
And-
it's like a game of chess.
yeah, I
Exactly.
definitely think this is a very easy comparison to chess.
Yeah.
And it's a more complicated in some ways and less complicated in others.
Well, it helps with the nice square grid.
Yeah.
hmm
It was fun because I would play it at Mitch's all the time. So like sometimes both of us would be like watching and like looking and like thinking of moves and stuff.
I feel like when we played together, we 100% always did so much better because we had
Yeah.
two people looking at the board. It's
Two
just
brains is better than one.
yeah, you're
Yep.
seeing so many more things because we're both think differently. So we're like looking
Yeah.
for different kinds of stuff. And so when we would do run throughs, I feel like almost always when we play together, we almost always made it to the end in our run throughs.
Pretty much, yeah. Like unless like there's like one move where we made and then like the enemies moved and it was just like totally fucked everything up.
There's a lot of mechanics we could talk about. What do we even like start with, really?
I don't know. I mean, yeah,
We could,
there's so
see.
much like so many things that can change how you can play the game, which I really like about this, and I think it gives a lot of replayability to it. Like, because you get to choose which island you start on once you unlock more of the islands. Once you finish one island, you get to move on to the next one, and that's kind of how you unlock islands. Each island has its own kind of unique like objectives and environmental hazards. We could talk about the teams of robots. Each team of robots plays like super differently.
Extremely differently.
Very differently, yeah.
Let's talk about them first, since that's what you play with the whole game. So
So
makes
there's
sense to talk
yeah,
about them.
there's 8 or 9 if the secret squad is like a real thing. But there's 8 squads you can play with, and each squad has extremely different play styles. And then when tied with the right pilots, you can also change the play styles even more.
Yeah.
So I know you guys not. I have all the squads unlocked, but I only just unlocked one of them, so I haven't even done a run through with them yet. I just tried a little bit of them.
I only have four of the squads unlocked.
I've got all of them except 2.
Yeah, I think
So-
I got all but 2.
Which ones do you have, Nick?
Well,
You have Riftwalkers, obviously.
the cheapest, like the first 4.
So you have Riftwalkers, Rusting Hulks, Zenith Guard, and Blitzkrieg.
Yes.
Those are definitely the easier ones to play. The last 4 are really hard.
I tried playing the Steel Judoka, and
Just
Right.
unlocked them today, and I was trying to do a run through, and they're so fucking hard to play.
I know it was like not even the end of the first island, and I basically like killed myself because I didn't realize that if you like
Which one is the
guy-
Steel Judoka?
It's about
Um,
moving the enemies to attack each other.
Oh yeah, I unlocked that one. That
Yeah,
one's
like
hard.
I didn't realize that the missile that you shoot at something that like moves all of the enemies one tile away from it if they're
Also
adjacent
damages.
also damages like everything around it. So if you shoot a building
Yeah.
and it like shields the building, but it damages any buildings around that, and like every single fucking building is like that.
Yeah, the number
like-
of times I aimed it on a building to like get things off of it or whatever, and there was a building next to it and I just totally forgot and damaged it, was just like
Yeah.
Or if your units are by it and you just damage your own unit.
yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like
Um,
that's one thing that's really interesting about the game is because every squad has such a different play style, you really have to change how you think about the game when you're playing that each individual squad. Like
Yeah.
they have each squad has a very different play style.
Yeah.
But I think some of my favorite ones were definitely like Rusting Hulks and Zenith Guard.
Yep.
Um,
I like
I
Rusting.
love Blitzkrieg.
Blitzkrieg is probably one of my favorites.
Blitzkrieg was fun, but it was also kind of weird.
because
When you get the channel through buildings,
Yeah.
oh,
You just chain lightning through buildings, and then if you tie him with the guy who lets you go twice in a turn
Yeah.
if you don't move, then you just lightning everything twice and you clear the whole board if everything's connected.
yeah.
See, you're using basically you just stick health on your other 2 guys and like position them your other 2 guys in places so that you can shock everything.
That's what I did all the time. I would be like shocking my own units to like the point where they're almost dead,
Yeah.
and you still win, but it's just a very interesting kind of play style. Rusting Hulks was great because like early on in the game I was so stupid because I was like, oh man, this guy that just moves everybody and doesn't damage them. He's so bad. I'm never gonna use him. And then to like as I actually like learned how to play the game, I'm like, he's the best guy because he can knock guys like into water or into the path of other guys. And he's like, oh, that's like my best one. And then the jet is super fucking good because he cancels enemies' attacks. So
Yeah.
it just like ties them up for a turn, and then the rocket launcher is like your damage, and that one was just super fun to play.
I really like Rusting Hulks. The only issue is that when you start smoking the whole board, you can actually make it really hard for yourself.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
Because once there's too much smoke on the board, you've just fucked yourself. Now you can't do anything.
Unless you have the one pilot who's immune to smoke.
I haven't even unlocked that guy yet.
I don't think I had her for that. Or I never used her in that squad, but I need that's something I want to do at some point.
I haven't had
That'd be so good.
trouble with the smoke.
I haven't had trouble with the smoke, but mostly because I keep the missile guy like really far away, just
Yeah.
to the point where
Always-
you
I keep every artillery far away.
Yeah, I pretty
yeah,
much.
same.
I think artillery is always in the back. Just skirting the edge of the map.
Yep.
Zenith Guard was funny because there was one game where I maybe we should start getting into this a little bit because I kind of want to talk about it. It's the achievement system.
Oh.
Is super important to this game because it's how you gain coins and how you unlock new squads. And you got to do some kind of weird stuff with each of the squads, and there's also like some global achievements like complete X number of games. But I would like bend over backwards super hard to get like the thing with Blitzkrieg where you have to like chain through like 10 things. And I would
Mhm.
really kneecap myself to do that just once because it's like, if I get the achievement, it doesn't matter if I lose.
Yeah.
And especially
I
like
got-
on the Zenith Guard where you got to like laser through X number of guys.
I still haven't
Yeah.
gotten that one.
Most achievements I feel like I got just by playing it. Like I never really like tried to go out of my way to get any achievements. I'm like till like later where I like needed more coins to get more things.
Yeah, some of them it's just good to know what they are. So
Yeah.
until you like see that the opportunity is there to get it,
Yeah,
and then you
definitely.
just grab it.
So, for me, like I already expressed my opinion on Facebook, like in the chat,
Hmm.
but I'm not a big fan of it. But I don't think it's bad design or anything. But I'm not a fan because it is so like achievement like and heavy. That's tied to unlocking stuff. And me personally am not an achievement sort of gamer, so like I don't go after them or care about them usually. However, saying that, like some of the achievements are easily doable just by just playing the game naturally. So that's how I've unlocked some of them. But I definitely can feel like at some point it would just be really just a grind to get some of the later mechs, like some of the last ones.
Dude, now that I have everything, all the squads, and there's that secret squad that's 25 coins, which is all of the achievements. There's no way I'm ever gonna get that. There's so many achievements that are really, really fucking hard.
Yeah. I have the page up for all the squads. Guess what the secret squad is?
What is the secret squad?
The Vec.
Oh, really? You get to play the Vec?
Shit.
Yeah, you get to play like the one that brings up the 4 rocks or whatever that surround it, then attack or whatever.
Oh, what?
Oh,
The
cool.
flying bug one, and then the artillery like glob launcher one.
Oh
Well,
shit.
Dude, now I kind of want to
cool.
like work towards. No, that's too much work. I can't. There's too
The
many
rock
achievements.
one is like probably the coolest one.
Yeah,
So-
really.
But I think the really important thing is Wild Carly appeared.
It's a wild Carly.
Then,
Hello.
woo!
So what did you think about the game?
So I played it for probably 4 hours or something, and I kept dying after like 3 or 4 like regions, I guess.
Zones or whatever.
So you've never finished an island?
No, okay, so it's always like the final like boss battle thing on
Ah.
the first island. I wouldn't ever make.
Oh, that's one thing actually I do want to talk about because I thought this was really interesting about this game, which is that when you first start playing this game, it is so fucking hard.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
And like I think this game has a really high skill curve, and like you have to really start strategizing a lot with certain squads, and then the only way to get better is to start nailing down certain play styles and then sticking to them and getting better at them. Because I
Yeah.
remember it took me forever to beat the first island. I had to play a bunch before
Oh.
I was like decent enough to beat it one island.
I think it took me one try,
Really?
one playthrough. Yeah, like I just sat there and think because I could do strategy games pretty well because that's like one of my favorite genres.
Mhm.
I think for me, a
And
lot
I
of it was
I
just
picked up this game really fast. But I definitely do struggle later. Like after one island, then I just struggle kind of. So
well, it definitely
not
gets a
saying
lot
I'm
harder.
good.
Like
Again,
I
I
really
didn't
like
have the
strategy
trouble.
games. It's just I don't know what it was about this one. What made it seem like
I-
a lot harder.
I think it's because it's not all about killing the Vec. It's about
Yeah.
moving them, taking up damage, and all that. Because you only get 3 units to play
guess.
with, and it really does matter. Like, can you kill them? Can you block them from spawning?
Yeah.
Can you, just any sort of option for them to do nothing.
Yeah, because there's a
just
lot more to think about. You're not just thinking about killing them. It's like I need to mostly focus on defending buildings.
It's like really hard chess.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd say like a perfect example, like I thought I had an opportunity to block 2 Vec from spawning like twice in a row. But really that ended up fucking me in the long run because like I had to move those guys finally to like deal with somebody else, and all of a sudden the next round
When
like
you're
I
overwhelmed.
had 6 Vec to deal with.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
dangerous game blocking.
Yeah.
You need to be careful about making sure you don't have too many Vec on the board at once.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
I think my biggest downfall was I would try to like kill all the things, but then I'd kind of forget that I have to make sure that my buildings don't get destroyed. And then your score doesn't reset for the next mission. You know, it's like you have to
Yeah,
run the
you sticking
entire
with it
island.
for the whole game.
Yeah, you got to make sure that you have enough power to like get you through the rest of the island, and
Yeah.
then you can kind of replenish it after the island. But
Does it not just like reset? For the
no, it
next-
doesn't.
Nope.
Oh my god.
You can spend corporation points that you get from
From the stars.
from the stars on the island, and you can spend like one of those to regain one of your power. And you can like if you want, you can spend like a bunch of them to regain a bunch of power, but you can also spend them on like different upgrades for your mechs and stuff. So if you spend a bunch on power, you can't spend a bunch on like upgrading your guys.
Yeah. That's another thing with this game is as you're playing, some squads are really good early game and other squads suck early game and aren't good until you can upgrade them.
Definitely.
What was your favorite one?
What I was actually going to say, wait, my favorite squad, I think, it's hard. So I really like Blitzkrieg, but I think my favorite squad so far has been the Hazardous Mechs. But the Hazardous Mechs are really hard when you start. But then they get incredibly overpowered. So the Hazardous Mech squad, you have a Prime who can leap down the columns any distance, like jump in a straight line. And then when he lands, the spot he lands on, he takes 1 damage, and then he does 1 damage to all 4 tiles around him. And then the Unstable Mech is a tank one. He shoots a tank, and it pushes a unit forward, and it does 2 damage, and then he takes 1 damage and gets pushed backwards. And then the last one is a science unit, and it shoots acid that pushes an enemy 1 space back. And then he has a special passive ability that are nanobots, which is that whenever anybody does damage or whenever anybody kills something, they get healed for killing a unit. And so when you first start, it's really hard because you're constantly damaging yourself. But once you level up your mechs, because of your acid unit, you get to the point where you're one-shotting everything.
Yeah.
Because you acid one guy, and then you go in with your tank, and then the tank does 8 damage, and it's just,
Damn.
and then that thing's dead. And then you acid something else, and your jump guy jumps in and lands and does massive damage to an area, and then he does 4 damage to all of the units over there. So late game, it's just like damage like crazy. Early game, it's really hard because you're just constantly hurting yourself.
Yeah. But I'd say the interesting thing that this game says it scales along with your power. So
Yeah, it definitely
So-
scales with your power.
yeah, it's interesting that some are better early off in the game, scale wise, but better. Some are better late game.
That's one thing that I think is very interesting about this game is you can kind of choose how long you want to play. Or,
Yeah.
Because the way it works is there is a final island that you go to like finish the Vec off once and for all. I mean, that's not really much of a spoiler, but you can choose to go for it after you've done 2 islands, but obviously you can do more islands. You can do 3 islands and then go for the final one. You can do 4 islands and then go for the final one. And the final island scales based on how many islands you've done before you get to it. So I just find that kind of interesting because that's the difference between like a 30-minute game and an hour-long game.
Yeah. And it's really interesting too because for some squads, it's really not beneficial to keep going whatsoever because you're just gonna fuck yourself. It seems some squads, the more you upgrade, like yeah, you're gonna keep getting buffed, but like it doesn't necessarily help the play style of that squad.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like the one I was talking about, the hazardous mechs, they're best off if you keep playing, so that you level them up so they can just wipe damage on people, just like annihilate.
Mm-hmm. Also, I wanted to ask you guys like what you guys like your favorite mech, not squad, was.
Favorite mech.
For me, I've only experienced 4 squads, but of the 4, it's the airplane in the Rusting Hulks.
Oh, that's a really good unit.
Yeah, what the airplane does for people to know is when you go next to a unit, when you decide to damage the unit, you fly over him and go to the next tile over, and you drop a bomb, which then produces a storm electrical field or whatever, and then that does another damage to the unit
And prevents them from
on its turn.
attacking.
Yeah, and prevents them from attacking, which is like the best part, I'd say.
That's why that unit's so good, is because you get to do both damage and stop attacks.
Yeah.
And then as you level it up, you can then hit more spaces even.
Mm-hmm.
Like line up a bunch of dudes. Me and Noah did a run where we gave the guy who, if you don't move, you can do an action twice. We put it on that guy, and that was really useful a few times, where you could like do a double jump and like knock out potentially 4 units from attacking.
Sometimes there's that attack, and you can only do it 3. So those items are useful.
I don't know. One of my favorite units is the swap mech on the Flame Behemoths. It's a science class unit that teleports itself and switches places with another unit. And then you can upgrade the range up to 4 spaces away. So you can just take a unit and then just move them to where your other unit is. And then since you can move first, you can move anywhere on the map that's within range of that guy. And then just swap places.
You can go over water and stuff.
Yeah, so you can drop enemies in water. It's a really fun.
That's amazing.
A super fun unit. The Flame Behemoths in general are really fun.
Yeah, Flame is fun.
They're hard though. They're not. I shouldn't necessarily say they're hard, but it's a very different playstyle because all your damage is delayed because it's all flame. So you should just set everyone on fire before you can do damage.
Yeah, I think my favorite unit was the Chain Lightning guy.
He's pretty dope.
Because
he was my least favorite.
Really?
Or no, I wouldn't say least favorite, but he was not one of my.
My run, I had the guy where it's like if you don't move, you can attack twice. So I would just have him just standing next to a big cluster of buildings, and I had the upgrade where I could chain through buildings. So I would just sit there and I would just hit the buildings, and it would just kill everything on the map, basically.
He was really useful for defending buildings too, then, because he
Yeah,
only has to be touching one building and he can defend all of them.
as long as it's not a ranged thing attacking it.
Yeah.
Then you have your other 2 units to go take care of those.
Overall, I think most of the squads are really good. Like since I only just recently got Steel Jaduko and the Frozen Titans, I have not played either of those 2 enough to like really make an opinion on them. But all the other squads, the other 6 I've played a lot of. They're really fun. Zach, what about your favorite?
That's a really tough decision. Yeah, I definitely have not played enough of Steel Judoka or the Flame Behemoths to like get a good read on if I like any of those guys. But based on the squads that I've played a lot of, which are Rusting Hulks, Zenith Guard, and Blitzkrieg, God, I'd probably say my favorite guy is the science unit from the Rusting Hulks, probably, because that was like the first unit where I realized like, oh, he does no damage, but he can kill like some of the strongest enemies in one hit, because so much of it is like between him and the missile guy, you can just move guys around a bunch and just push them into water, and even move your own guys out of like harm's way. Or
He's like the savior mech. He flies in out of nowhere and just, saves shit.
yeah, especially if you get like the thing where he gains a shield after he pushes everybody, then that's just that's really good. Otherwise, him or the laser guy on the Zenith Guard, I think is really nice as well.
My only problem with the laser guy is that he damages your own buildings, and that makes it really hard to use sometimes.
Yeah, he's a cannon. You got to make sure you don't have anything you like in that line, because even if it's like across the map, it still does like at least 1 damage, I think.
Yeah, every space is 1 damage no matter what.
Yeah, and it's
I like
the
the
closer you
mechanic.
get.
Yeah.
It's like the closer you get to him, the more damage he does.
It's 3 on the first tiles, 2 on the second, then
And then 1 on
the
every
rest
else. Yeah, it's a really nice unit. Like I really liked the laser. Just got really sucky to use when the buildings were placed poorly.
Yep. But beyond that, I like the guys who could move guys around. Like that was like my strategy on the final island. When you get to some of the final boss guys, it's just move them into an environmental hazard.
Yep,
It will kill them on the first turn, and then you are fine, or you're much more fine. Like I would always choose the missions that have environmental hazards, because you can make sure that your guys don't end up in them, and then you can just move the enemy kind of into them, and it is like a ton of free kills. It's like you got a huge home field advantage or something. Which island did you guys like the most? I actually need to pull up a thing about which island.
Real quick, I want to say, when they say it scales, I still feel like each island is harder than the next.
Yeah.
Like to me, I feel like even if you start out the game and then you do like the third island, because that's the one I've unlocked until now, like I still feel like that is way harder than the first island.
Oh, wait, hold on.
When just starting it.
Did everybody go through and say their favorite thing? I know it was me, Mitch, Noah, and
I think Carly
everybody
didn't.
else
Carly
did.
has only played the first squad.
Well, my favorite one is the one that punches people.
Yeah, he's a good
That
one,
guy's
too.
pretty cool.
He's like my second favorite.
I don't know what he's called, but
He's a combat mech, so prime class.
he has
They all have really
one-
boring names. But to your thing, Nick, I
Yeah.
think to some extent, if you like, so Island 1 is like Earth, Island 2 is desert, Island 3 is ice, and Island 4 is the acid. And I would agree with you to some extent that if you start on Island 4, it's going to be harder, and then Island 1 will always be one of the easier ones. But at the same time, the enemies that are going to spawn on that island are what scales. On a later islands, you run into more alpha units, which have more health and do more damage. And the type of enemies that spawn also changes the further you get. So once you're on like Island 3 and 4, there are certain enemies that can only spawn on Island 3 and 4 that you can't get on Island 1 and 2. But yeah, I would agree with you in general that like Island 4 is definitely harder than Island 1.
Yeah. I'm guessing it's probably just like a strategy, like complete the harder islands right at the beginning, because that's at their easy.
That's actually what I've done.
and
for
then
some,
go reverse.
for like some of the squads, like certain squads are much better on other islands because of the hazards and stuff.
Yeah.
So certain squads that I know the squad's gonna be bad on that island, I always pick first. It's like get the bad island over with right away, and then if it goes poorly, I can start over. And if it doesn't go poorly, then at least it's done and it's out of the way.
What do you guys think, though? To me, I think the first island is my favorite, just because it's basic and there's not a whole lot that I can really just focus on the gameplay aspects of the units itself.
Go ahead.
I kind of like all of them, except for the. I don't particularly like the ice one.
I hate the ice island.
I don't like it
Yeah,
because
I'm
it's got the
not
combination of the ice, which like neutralizes your guys and is kind of difficult to dodge, depending on what you do. And also, it's got the AI units that like fuck with your guys.
They fuck up so much shit.
Yeah.
They make it so difficult.
The one nice part about the ice place is like sometimes on certain maps, some of the or like all the buildings are frozen,
That is
Oh, yeah.
which can be really nice. But
But
yeah, other than that, the ice
I'd
place.
say probably my favorite one is probably the desert one.
I really like the desert.
I just like it because of like the environmental hazards and how that like changes the environment,
Mm-hmm.
and like some of the objective ones, like the
I really
one
like the
where you have to,
terraformer.
yeah, the terraformer one. I was just about to say that, but yeah, that's just I like that one.
I really
And
like.
that's kind of the
one.
yeah.
Uh,
I was gonna say I kind of like the acid one for the same reasons, like the
That-
objectives and the environmental hazards and stuff.
The acid one has that acid launcher, which is just so awesome.
Oh
Like,
yeah, it's
that,
like
that one just makes that level so easy. It's like, oh, I got the launcher. I can just like clear fucking enemies like mad. Like
Yeah,
5 spots are
and-
just dead.
although you also have like the side objectives, which for most of those it's like clear all the mountains.
Yeah,
so,
it's usually, that's what you're supposed to do is clear the mountains with it. But it's
but
really
it's also
useful
just like
to wipe the
dropping
board.
nukes all
Yeah.
over the map.
That's one thing I really like about the objectives on most of these maps is that they're all twofold. It's like, okay, so either you do the objective and you get more stars to spend at the end, or you don't go for the objective but you use it to your advantage to win the level.
Yeah, and they're all 100% optional.
Yeah.
Like,
I
if at
tried
any
so
point you're
hard.
like, you know what, it's just not worth it going for that, you can always just say, nah. Like the one that always was like the hardest objective for me was the train.
Oh my god.
Because-
Oh
fuck
my
the
god,
train.
the train.
Train
Not
is the
only
worst.
do you have to
It's
defend
not-
the yeah. So I think it's on the first island. I'm not sure if it's on other islands as well.
I think it's
but-
also on the desert island.
I think so.
Yeah.
too.
But there's this train, and every turn it'll like move 2 spaces across the map. And not only do you have to protect this motherfucker from all of the enemies, but if it runs into any enemies, it will take damage. And it's one of those things where if it doesn't take any damage, you get 2 points. And if it does take damage, but you defend it after that, you get like 1 point. And it's so difficult because it takes up so much space, and it also like cuts the map in half like a couple of turns in. So you have to make sure like you're kind of on both sides to make
Yeah,
sure that nobody fucks with it.
And since it moves 2 spaces every turn, like it's always in the way. Or you're
Yeah.
always trying to move things out of the way. That I hate because if you don't have a squad that allows you to like really move people around, you basically have to give up on the train right away
Yep.
because it's just so hard to get it all in there.
That's not a train I would want to be on.
Man, I really want to know. I should just look up all the pilots because I'm still missing 6 pilots.
Yeah, I think I've only unlocked like 4 or 5 of them.
I feel like I'm not missing too many on my account.
I think I have the
I
pilot
looked-
screen up. Yeah, I don't recognize like any of these. I recognize like 3 or 4 of them.
I'm wondering what the Mantis's power is going to be because the Mantis is from FTL.
Is that a new one?
I don't have them, so I don't know. That's why I'm just wondering because
Oh yeah,
they have
maybe I should've-
2. I don't. There maybe there's more, but there's at least 2 pilots that are directly pulled from FTL, directly linking this game's universe into FTL's universe.
Oh,
Which
that's
is
cool.
really cool. Because I have the Rockman from FTL, and his ability is that
He's immune to
is
fire, right?
yeah, he's immune to fire, and then he has +3 health to whatever mech he's in.
Damn, 3 health. Shit.
Oh yeah, I didn't even know about these guys. Well, because they're labeled as secret pilots, I'm assuming that's why I didn't know about them. But
Yeah, I should look up the
Um,
whole pilot list. I want to see.
oh, and there are pilots that you get from the secret squad.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh.
they're the cyborg pilots.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm not gonna talk about them too much because I feel like that's a little bit of spoilers. But yeah, I haven't unlocked too many of the pilots.
Henry
Um,
Kwan, your mech can move through enemy units. That's such a useful ability.
That's so useful. Holy shit.
And then this
Yeah.
one, Chen Rong, after attacking, gain 1 free tile movement. That could also be extremely useful.
Yeah.
Unaffected by webbing and smoke?
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about.
What the heck?
I got that one.
And then Archimedes is move again after shooting. That is super nice.
That's really nice.
Oh, and there's 3 people from FTL. There's the Mantis, which is 2 damage melee attack. Wait, yeah, 2 damage melee attacks replace repair. Instead of repairing, you can do 2 damage melee attacks. Cool.
Hmm.
And then they have
Shiny.
the Zoltan, which obviously increases the reactor core by 1, reduces the mech health by 1, and then you gain a shield every turn. That's
God, this makes me want to
Can
go
we-
back and play Faster Than Light again. Holy shit.
Can we talk about repairing real quick?
Yeah.
Because that is a mechanic I totally forgot about because I never used it.
You never
I-
used repairing?
I used it once or twice because I always thought, like, I found it always more valuable to, like, move my unit and attack or something
I
rather
definitely
than repair.
think most of the time moving is more useful than
Yeah.
It's definitely depending on the squad. Like I did use it
Yeah.
a lot more on certain squads, like the Zenith Guard, when you've got the guy who takes 1 damage from like driving into enemies. I definitely used it on him quite a bit more. So I think it kind of depends on the squad you choose. Most squads probably don't need to use it very often.
And I don't know if there's a squad that starts with it, but I know there's like an upgrade you can get where it's like if one person repairs, like everybody repairs.
yeah.
That is
Then you have a
cool.
healing unit basically.
Yeah.
Be nice.
That's a nice upgrade.
Yeah.
That's another thing that also can totally change your run. Is that when you get to the end of an island, what they're selling could completely change your idea of what you're going to do for your playstyle.
Oh yeah, like there was one game where I got an upgrade where it's like you don't take damage from blocking enemy spawns.
Yeah,
And
that's
so I just
so
did that.
nuts.
I abused the shit out of that. And just kind of took out as many enemies as I could and then just blocked as many as I could. And it made it quite a bit easier. What
Oh,
else
so
are we talking about?
apparently the FTL pilots are actually considered secret pilots, and you have to do something in order to unlock them.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
right.
really?
Yeah, so if you do something during your run, then they'll come and crash. They're not from regular pods. They have special pods.
Mhm.
Okay. Interesting.
So
So-
if you want the Mantis, you have to break mountains or ice tiles, and you can find a strange object.
How do you get the stone dude?
Maybe these could be any of the ways because it doesn't specify which one's to which. Actually, I know this really doesn't give much information about how to do it.
Okay.
And maybe I should have mentioned this at the beginning, but the people who made this game are the same people who made Faster Than Light, which is not a turn-based strategy game, but is also like a very strategy-heavy game that is also pretty challenging and is kind of a rogue-like game-ish.
I actually started playing a lot of FTL after playing this game for a while. Cause
And I
like
feel like FTL would also be a game that would work really good on the Switch.
it actually would. Once you play it again, you'll realize it's not easy to play on the Switch at all.
Oh,
And
actually,
it's all mouse based.
as I
and-
said that, I was like, you know what? You're probably right.
Because I kept talking about that with Noah and a few other people, like, hey, I would love FTL on the Switch. And then I finally went to go play it again, and I was like, oh wait, this would totally
Yeah,
not
because
work on the Switch.
you gotta like select your guys with the mouse, and
Yeah,
that would be so dumb on the Switch.
Like- you basically only use the mouse in that game.
yeah,
It needs the touch controls.
I don't know how well that would work though, because everything you need so much. A lot of stuff is reaction time, like being really quick with the mouse.
Yeah. And then you wouldn't be able to really play it very well if it was like docked.
Well, I wonder if you, yeah, as Carly said, playing a touchscreen. Though I wonder if the screen is big enough to play touchscreen.
That game does really seem like crowded.
I'm sure they could figure out a way to do it. They would have to like change some of the controls and like the UI. But honestly, I think if they could somehow bring FTL to the Switch, I'd be really happy with that. It's FTL is so much fun too.
Oh yeah, yeah. I wanna see what they. I'm not sure if they added anything to it since I last played, but yeah, it's a very fun, very unique kind of game. That is probably one of the best kind of spaceship management games
Yeah,
I've
that
ever
one's
played. But
much more management than where this one's more like chess with management. That one's more like management.
got to manage all your subsystems.
How would you compare it to Far Lone Sales, one of our recent games we played?
Way better.
Wise.
Well, management in Far Lone Sales is much less important almost.
Yeah.
Like it seems like when you first, I remember we talked about this when we were going through. Like it seemed like management was going to be important, and then you slowly just get swamped with resources,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then it doesn't really feel like you actually needed to manage anything.
yeah. But this game,
It was more manage all the little buttons as you're
Yeah.
traveling mostly.
Which that was really fun. I think for that game that worked really well, but it's also
Yeah,
just
but-
very different.
but Faster Than Light is very much like you're fighting something and you need to manage all of your stuff. Like if you quickly need to like cut a bunch of power so you can power like a weapon or something, or what kind of weapons you're using to like deal with different threats, or where you're putting your people.
Or when you get dropped into a nebula and you lose all of your power and you have to like scramble the little bit of energy you have so that you can like turn your oxygen on every once in a while.
Or you get fucking boarded and you gotta like shut off oxygen to like sections of your ship to like brutally murder the boarding party and all that good shit.
See, we need to pick FTL as one of our next games eventually, and then do a whole discussion on FTL because that would be really interesting.
I'd totally do that. But do we have anything more to talk about Into the Breach? I think we covered just about everything I had to say.
Most of everything, yeah. There's a
I mean,
lot
I
to
could
that
be-
game.
I
I don't
could be
really
really
think you can do everything.
specific and yeah.
Yeah, unless you go like really specific into like each island's like environmental stuff or
And each squad's exact mechanics.
Because there's so much detail you could go in, like with the strategies involved with each squad, and
but I think like the overarching kind of stuff we've mostly discussed. So if we don't have anything else to say, final words, would you recommend this game?
Definitely.
As a person who generally most of the time doesn't like turn-based games, I'd recommend.
Yeah, I think in general, if you enjoy turn-based games, this is like a must play.
Or strategy. Or
Yeah.
It
It's
works
a-
well on the Switch.
it's a really good Switch game too.
Yes, works well on the Switch. If you don't have a Switch, like I didn't 2 months ago, yes, get one if you have money. But otherwise, it works fine on Steam. I wonder what the achievements are on Steam. If like all the achievements on Steam are just
the
the
coin?
achievements in the game.
That's a good question.
I have no idea.
I don't know, overall, I would
Makes sense.
highly recommend this game.
If you own this game on Steam, post in the comments.
If we actually get a comment, I'll be amazed.
Beyond that, yeah, I would totally recommend this. Like for $15, I think this game is like no question worth it.
The amount of content within this game for the price that it is offered at is it's high quality content. Lots
Mhm.
of hours, lots
If
of
you don't like
variety.
turn-based games, I mean, Nick said he didn't, but he enjoyed the game, so
Mhm.
maybe consider getting it. I don't know, but if you do like turn-based games, this is definitely a.
There are
must
55
buy.
achievements on the Steam version, and there are 55 achievements on the Switch version. They're exactly 1-to-1.
Makes sense.
So the lowest percent achievement on the lowest percent achievement on Steam is to beat the game with all 10 squads,
Jeez.
which
Yeah,
I
yeah.
am not surprised by because some squads are honestly really hard to beat with.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's not including the. Yeah, but yeah, it's a fun game. Consider checking it out. I have no idea how I'm going to get gameplay footage of this from my Switch to the video, but I will try to figure something out with that. And if you like what you see, definitely consider picking this up wherever you play video games. And with that, and if nobody
Goodbye.
has anything else to say, I'll see you all in hell. Or see you next time.